Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's UBNradio.com.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome to all of my listeners and supporters. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon out of the Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, California with Universal Broadcasting Network. And then again every Thursday at 7 and Saturday at 1 on my syndicated CNBC News Radio channel, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5. And now everywhere, check your local listings for iHeartRadio. And this is a show about hope and happiness. So there's no CNN, no constantly negative news, no gossip, no scandal, and no K-words, no Kardashian talk at all. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So thank you so much, listeners. I have now jumped over 80,000 views on my YouTube. Thank you in the last 2 years. I'm very grateful for that, as well as winning last year's Podcast of the Year top 10 in health. And I couldn't have done it without you. So I wanted to say xie to all of my listeners and supporters. And as you know, this is my 251st consecutive week on the air. And so we're celebrating this month, Black History Month, and a little bit of history. Did you know that in 1976, as part of the United States bicentennial, the informal expansion of Negro History Week to Black History Month was officially recognized by the U.S. government? President Gerald Ford spoke in regards to this, urging Americans to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. And so also peace shout out to Kira, Carla, and Catrice, because we worked on a post for peace and justice, and we have a specific part that says Black Lives Matter, and when we get there, then all lives will rise to matter. So I am recognizing and honoring this month as Black History Month. Also, we had, as a result of the election, a chance now to really look at where we are as far as healing the racism that is here. So if you're not happy about what's going on, I would ask you to continue to focus on those things that are going well and to get aligned and into action to improve places where it needs attention, because we really did need a little bit of a jolt to get us to wake up, to understand where things are. As our Veterans for Peace, Michael McPherson pointed out last year with Veterans for Peace, that we really haven't healed from the Civil War. So that's our opportunity to do now. And today's guest is someone who has done a lot for the community as well as for the Black community, and I'm going to read a little bit about him. He was overwhelmingly elected in 2008, re-elected in 2012 and 2016 to the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. Mark Ridley-Thomas has distinguished himself as a strong advocate for more than 2 million second district residents. He presently serves as the chairman of the Board of Supervisors and is a board member of LACare and the LA-County Metropolitan Transportation Authority. He served as California State Senator from 2006 to 2008 and a California State Assemblyman from 2002 to 2006. Mark has a PhD in social ethics from USC, focusing on social criticism and social change. He's married to Avis Ridley-Thomas, co-founder and director of the Institute for Nonviolence in Los Angeles. Please welcome to the studio Supervisor and Chairman Mark Ridley-Thomas. I am so honored to have you here. I actually discovered you in person at Agape. You went and spoke at my big brother's fabulous Agape International Spiritual Center, where I get my positive roots watered. And it was the first time that I've heard a systemic solution to homelessness. So if you remember, I ran up to you and said, you got to come on the show. You got to come on the show because we really have to spread this message. I accidentally was asked to, coincided to serving at the Long Beach Mission last week. My beautiful daughter, Sarah, started her own club at Los Alamitos High School called the Soup Kitchen. I did not, I'm a recovering tiger mom. I did not put her up to it. So I actually got to go serve at the mission and interview some of the people that were being served there. And so I kind of wanted you to set the stage with some statistics on how things are in LA County right now. You gave some just incredible statistics when you were over at Agape.
Well, I want to say thank you first, Dr. Marissa, for inviting me to come and discuss this compelling issue, this urgent issue, this issue that presents itself as a crisis in Los Angeles County. I think it's fair to say that people are intensely concerned about this across the board, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your political affiliation. It is very difficult for you to see and or experience homelessness at any level without being affected. And it is compounded by the fact that the issue has gotten so large in the county of Los Angeles. At any given evening, on any given evening, there are 47,000 people who are without shelter. And from the year 2013 to 2016, there was a 55% increase among homeless women. This is a startling statistic. The uptick in encampments that we see all over the county, from one end to the next, 20% increase. And it goes beyond that to realize that 1 out of 3 homeless people in this county will be women. There are thousands of children who are suffering on the streets of Los Angeles, and we must do something about it. There are mental health issues that drive it. 30-some% of those who are homeless have serious mental health issues. And another 30% represent those who have substance abuse and or other disabilities, some of which are physical disabilities. And so this is the picture, the face of homelessness in LA County, which is the largest concentration of homeless people anywhere in the United States of America. We can do better.
Yes. So we are the most homeless of all the counties.
Correct.
In the U.S.
Correct.
Why the increase? Why the 55% increase? Have they done studies? Do we know why? Can we, without trying to blame it, but just to try to find a way to stem that?
No, we don't need to blame it. We simply need to name it.
Okay.
And to do so means that we have to understand the issue of eviction rates that are disproportionately impacting women. We have to name it for what it is in terms of the domestic violence uptick in our communities, which often happens in the time of economic distress. And so the Great Recession, we are still feeling the fallout from that very, very trying time when foreclosures in this county were just almost inconceivable.
Right.
And the locus of that happens to have been the Antelope Valley. And so when we think about this picture, it is not simply Skid Row. Skid Row constitutes now 10% of the homeless crisis in our county.
Okay.
It has spread from one end of the county to the next. 35% uptick in the San Fernando Valley, 22% uptick in the South Bay cities. And so
it's
we are
way
called,
beyond downtown Skid Row. It's way beyond.
It's a mistake to think of this stereotypically.
Right.
Very much so a mistake.
Yeah. And so let's talk about some of the stereotypes. So, I'm going to put the moose on the table. Some people will say, yes, it's a problem, and you all better fix it.
Right.
Okay? It's not my problem. So it's a shame, but I'm not going to give any money to people begging on the side of the road because that's enabling. They just need to get a job. I've heard that so many times. I'll be honest, I'm not going to give you money because you're going to go drink with it or you're going to use with it. So that isn't a solution. Putting people in houses, just housing alone, I don't see how that could be a solution either. You name some reasons for that, but I mean the bottom line. I was talking to my surrogate white dad this morning on the phone before coming in, and he also mentioned the veteran population. This like a crying shame. They go out, they serve their country, they come back, they have some kind of mental illness, they can't keep a job, they're out on the streets, and this is how they get thanked. So I think for me, the reason why I wanted to do this show is to, number one, baseline. Everybody's got to care. I mean, that's the number one thing that we have to all do is start to care. I don't care where you're living. I don't care if you're with it or without it. You have to care. And I love your solution because we can actually care by voting. Right? There's a vote coming up.
On March the 7th.
On March the 7th. And that vote will provide
services.
Okay.
Mental health services, substance abuse treatment services, rapid rehousing, rent subsidies. It will provide recuperative care. It will provide mental health urgent centers. In other words, we have to make stronger the safety net in the county of Los Angeles. The way it's happening now, Dr. Marissa, is so expensive. We believe with the adoption of Measure H on March the 7th, we can save as much as 6 times the amount of money we are currently expending. Why? Because we will emphasize more prevention. Why? Because we will not be using law enforcement to deal with this issue. Why? Because the emergency rooms should not be the place where homeless people are cared for.
Yeah.
We can explore much more effective alternatives, and our data suggests that we can prevent some 30,000 people over the next 5 years from becoming homeless if we were to do what is being proposed by way of our strategies. And we will bring as many as 45,000 out of homelessness. This is significant progress that we can make, and the people of this county are essentially demanding it. They do care, and they care enough to say, all right, count me in. And so more people need to take that position with respect to voting yes on Measure H on March the 7th.
And what I also liked what you said at Agape was if we are only concerned, because we did get a lot of money from the state, correct, for this thing called Housing First. And it's funny, I had a dream probably 2 or 3 months ago, and I woke up with this focus on homelessness. And now my background, I actually came and did an internship with Hillview Mental Health Center, and I was a psych aide, and I got promoted to assistant program manager. And shout out to all the Hillview Mental Health and my surrogate mom, Eva McCraven, Dr. Eva McCraven. And what I realized, like, we had an LTR, and at that time, Camarillo State Hospital was on, and And because of the 1976, I believe, no, well, that's a different one, but JFK and then Ronald Reagan wanting to deinstitutionalize, which sounds good. We want to deinstitutionalize people, but the inadvertent consequence was a lot of people had no place to go, and they went on the street, and it's just grown from there. So the quality of what happens after they get a home. So if you have some people, and you mentioned this, and I'll just paraphrase you, if they've not been living in a home for 2 or 3 or 5 years, they don't know how to take care of a home.
Correct.
So if they get into a home, that's almost like setting you up for failure, right? The other thing that I got to interview a woman named China at the Long Beach Mission, and she's not Chinese. She's a beautiful African-American woman, and she's been on the street for 2 years, and she really, really wants to get off the street. But she also raised a really important point that there are some people who really don't want to get off the street. They for whatever reason want to stay there. So I was thinking there's got to be a way, and I'm sure one of your points is going and finding the differences between the populations. This is what my dream was about. We needed a think tank to get all of the professionals in the room at the same time. Mental health awareness, government, economics, systems change, all in there to find out the different. You can't have the same approach for homelessness when it's different populations. Drug addiction needs drug addiction help.
We don't believe in a cookie cutter approach, but we do know what works.
Okay.
And we have spent an extensive amount of time studying this issue. Now we simply need to act, and we can. We will act. We have put forward, by way of an adoption of the 47 recommendations that came forward to the Board of Supervisors. Last year this time, February of 2016, we adopted that plan, 47 strategies. We know what to do and how to do it. We advanced somebody's talking to you.
Yeah. I'm not here.
And so we approved $100 million in one-time funds, and those one-time funds proved to be insufficient because this is an ongoing problem. It is a recurring problem. And to the extent that we know that, we have to have ongoing resources. That's why we go to the ballot. And the people of this county have said, we care so much about this that we are willing to pitch in. And what's on the ballot means that people will pitch in as much as $1 a month, $12 a year. In other words, if you buy something and you spend $100, you'll pay a quarter, 25 cents. And this will ultimately generate $355 million to tackle this problem. What we have failed to do, Dr. Marissa, is spend the resources, and this problem has gotten larger and larger and larger to the point that it's practically out of control, and we can no longer tolerate these conditions.
Absolutely. We can't Band-Aid this one.
No.
The Band-Aid's gone. Now, if you've just tuned in, you're wondering who I am talking to today. I've gone from Quincy Jones to John Travolta to Halle Berry, and now I get Supervisor Chairman Mark Ridley-Thomas, and he's here in the studio celebrating not just Black History Month, but also a solution, a systemic solution to the homelessness situation that we have in LA County, the worst situation or the best in opportunity to change.
Correct.
As I do the positive take on it.
That's right.
For the measure that needs to pass on March the 7th.
Right.
By voting, and it doesn't hurt us in any way other than knowing that we have contributed to the solution. And in this day, if you're paralyzed, wondering, is everything going in a handbasket? No, whatever we can't control is just going to happen. Whether you were happy or unhappy with the election, let that all play out. But here's something that we can actually help out. So please, the good news about now is everybody knows how to vote, and they're more interested in voting than we ever have been. So please do go to the polls and vote for that. Now, the 47-point solution that you have outlined, is that something that we can look at somewhere?
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
There's a website to which you can go, and it is www.homeless.LACounty.gov.
Okay. There's it's funny because when I posted this, people are just responding, and someone offered someone's help for as a consultant to homelessness in Las Vegas. So we have a lot of expertise, and we have a lot of great ideas. The 47 is not up there for people to tear down. It is there for people to just jump on board.
And they can do that. Let me just say this, if I may, Dr. Marissa.
Yeah.
I don't believe anybody just wants to be homeless. People don't wake up in the morning and say, let me be homeless.
Right.
There are things that contribute to it in a very substantial way. Economic distress. I mentioned domestic violence. I mentioned mental disorders. I mentioned substance abuse issues. A recent study made it abundantly clear that a full third of Angelenos, that is in the county of Los Angeles, fear being a check or two at the most from being homeless themselves. I said a full third.
Wow.
Now, this is a very significant finding done by the Luskin School at UCLA, making a very compelling point that there's a lot of economic insecurity in the environment. Many of these people are full-time employees.
Right.
And so we shouldn't stereotype. There are individuals across the board, and I will tell you what we have failed to do is invest the resources. And now one of the concrete things that we will do is have teams of people who will not turn back. If we pass Measure H on March the 7th, there will be a public health nurse, a social worker, a substance abuse counselor, someone who was formerly homeless, and someone who represents the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority that will constitute a team of 5, and they will be dispatched throughout the county of Los Angeles to these homeless encampments. And the thing that will make them different from before is they are not leaving until a result is achieved. This is results oriented. It's comprehensive, it's multidisciplined, and this we know is the best practice.
That sounds great. I'm just thrilled to hear that, because that was part of my dream.
Right.
Because you just can't have one person, and you can't. That cookie cutter is just not going to work. Now, I'm going to put another moose on the table. For those of you who seem to think, and this is where some of the stereotype is, there's homeless people out there because they just are too lazy to get a job. They don't want to work, and they just, don't want to pay rent, and so they're out there. So that's one that I'm going to call the BS on, the belief system that I don't think is relevant, and I really think that people need to understand all of the systemic or the myriad of reasons why a person ends up homeless, and to have a whole heck of a lot more compassion for that. And then the second thing is, the resistance that people show. It's like, okay, yes, I care, but do not put housing by my home and the property because of the property values. What do you say to them?
Well, I think we say a couple of things.
Okay.
First, it has to be appreciated, as I said earlier, that no one elects to be homeless. Secondly, our efforts are designed to substantially reduce the homeless population by way of relieving or alleviating the crisis that a number of people currently experience and preventing those from falling into homelessness. We say in addition to that, it is a mistake to assume that affordable housing, permanent supportive housing, is going to drive down the quality of life in your neighborhood. Surely it will not drive down the quality of your life and your property values as much as a homeless encampment does all over the county of Los Angeles.
Very good point.
So when I look at Manchester Square headed toward LAX, that homeless encampment, when I look at the homeless encampment adjacent to Exposition Park in the University of Southern California that has its own homeless initiative that is quite impressive in its own right. When I look in parts of the area we know as Venice and the like, may I just simply say that the uptick in homeless encampments means that we have to intervene, and we can do it sensitively. We can do it in a way that neighborhoods are not adversely impacted, but we are all obliged to make some choices here.
Yeah.
And those choices are essentially, are we going to elevate the dignity and worth of every human being that we can, including ourselves, or are we going to allow people to languish and assault our own sensibilities when we walk down our respective streets and our neighborhoods and see them in the conditions in which they dwell?
Hear, 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 hear. Very well said. And that's the choice that we all have to make. And wake up. I would love, I just had this idea, I would love to see people who are entrepreneurs to start up companies that, just like there are some companies out there that specifically target the population coming out of jail to sort of rehabilitate and give them skills, to do the same thing for homeless. Wouldn't that be great?
The resources that are being put forward through Measure H will essentially inspire such entrepreneurship. It will support such entrepreneurship. And so nonprofit entities, faith-based entities that work in the area of homeless prevention and intervention will have new opportunities to innovate because there will be resources to do so. Now, this is a 10-year run, Dr. Marissa.
Long-term solution.
This is a 10-year run.
Yeah.
In other words, this measure says we're going to allow you a full decade at $355 million annually to demonstrate that progress can be made. And at that point in time, those of us who are working on this believe that we can show the public. This is about public trust. It's about accountability.
Yes.
This is about results.
Yes.
And over a decade period of time, we believe that we can demonstrate tangible results.
Good.
Otherwise, the people of the county of Los Angeles are going to say, you had your chance, you
screwed
didn't
up.
do it,
Yeah.
and so later for you. And
yeah.
so this is the systemic, the comprehensive way to deal with these problems. We don't offer perfection.
Right.
We offer progress.
So there will be some stopgaps in place to do assessments along the way, milestones.
An annual audit
Okay.
of the resources and the management of the program, as well as an oversight and accountability commission that is written into the ballot language. These are requirements.
Good.
And come June the 13th, assuming that we have passed the measure on March the 7th, the oversight body will come forward with the plan and the distribution of the resources for the first year. Now, what's important in that connection as well is the other requirements, that have to be in place here. The oversight body is one, the annual audit is the other. And then there's an extensive network of nonprofit organizations, indigenous organizations, working with the public sector to make this happen. We are talking about 88 cities in the county of Los Angeles that will be a part of the Memorandum of Understanding to make sure whatever permanent supportive housing projects they have, we will be able to support them with these services.
Perfect.
This is important because without the services, we will make a huge mistake in terms of the investment of our resources. If you build permanent supportive housing and don't have it properly programmed, you've just simply wasted taxpayer money.
Right.
We don't want to do that.
No.
We won't do this. This is about trust, accountability, and results.
Absolutely. Fabulous. And you picked a good number. I use 88. Did you hear at the top of the show when I said 88% of that? You know why?
No.
It's a lucky number in Chinese.
I see.
It's a homonym for good fortune.
All right.
So because of that, we're all set.
We're
going to have good fortune.
We're on our way.
And it's a good time to take a little short break to thank the sponsor of today's show, moi, for being able to continue to be on the air. If you'd like to be a sponsor of a show about hope and happiness, please do contact me at the number 4balance.org. We'll be right back in 2 and 2. Peace in and peace out. Want to reduce your stress without taking a pill that has side effects? Want to learn how to meditate? Then contact Dr. Marissa Pei, also known as the Asian Oprah, and your cheerleader for more hope and happiness, to sign up for Balance on the Beach or in the beauty of Sedona today. Details at www.drmarissa.online, and get ready for happiness 88% of the time. That's drmarissa.online. And we're back. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. I do sometimes. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon out of the Sunset Gower studio in Hollywood, California on Universal Broadcasting Network. And every Thursday at 7, Saturday at 1 on my syndicated CNBC News Radio channel, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and everywhere on iHeartRadio now. And today we're blessed to have Chairman Supervisor Mark Ridley-Thomas here. We're talking about a solution, a systemic solution to homelessness, and an active, participative buy-in into this solution that we can all have by voting for the Measure H on March the 7th.
Correct.
And how was that commercial?
That's a real good one. The only thing we can add is go to the website, which is www.voteyesonH.com. And you can learn more about the measure in detail, and it is quite a measure that will do a lot of good. You talk about hope. This will operationalize hope for
Beautiful.
the individuals who are homeless, as well as those of us who witness it. And this is not an abstraction. Many of us have friends, loved ones, family members, colleagues, and the like, who we can call by name, who we know have experienced and or are experiencing homelessness. This is not an abstraction.
Right.
Homeless people have a name and a face, and do not make the mistake and think, well, it's just some despondent male who is of a particular profile. No, a third of the people in this county who are homeless are women. We have veterans. We have children. The ethnic distribution is 39% African American, 27% Latino, 26% Anglo. It's across the ethnic spectrum when we talk about this. So it defies stereotypes, and it calls forth humanity.
Yes, absolutely. And it also crosses age groups.
It does.
When I was in the Long Beach Mission. And it's not simple. And this is why, I'm a systemic psychologist, because I don't believe in simple answers. There's not, why doesn't welfare work? Well, it's because people don't want to get a job. That's BS, bullshit-talky.
Yeah, right.
And why are there homeless people? Because they don't want to work. That's BS, bullshit-talky. And because it is a complicated issue, we have to have a complicated solution.
Right.
And judging is definitely not part of the solution. One of the things that went up when I talked to China, as well as watching that little video, was, even to get a job, you have to have documentation.
Yes.
And if you are stolen from while you sleep on the streets, or you don't have clothes to change into to interview, you don't have a computer to sign up for any job interview, you don't have choices. And if you don't have choices, how do you expect people to get out of the situation you're in? It's such a, and it's a vicious circle. And then it just really is very annoying when I do hear that, well, it's not my problem, and they put themselves in that situation.
Well, the good news is this. There are more people who have come to realize that it is their problem. I am substantially encouraged by the polling information that we have been studying for the past year, where people are saying this is the top tier issue for government leaders to work on. More than public safety, more than education, more than health, more than the environment, more than transportation. It's startling how many people have said this has to be addressed. And they are even going to the extent of saying we are willing to chip in. That is, we're willing to pay our little bit by way of taxes to get this under control. That's how, and it's Republicans, Democrats, it doesn't make any difference what your political affiliation might be, even if you have one. I am impressed with the fact from one end of this county to the next, there is a desire to do something about this. And we need others to come on board. We need a little more help here. Yes, on H. And so let's not take anything for granted. Everybody can step forward. If they do, we'll have a big celebration on March the 7th, and we'll go to work on March the 8th.
That's fabulous. I think if I could put a tagline on this whole effort, what you said really rang true. Homelessness is about human dignity for all of us.
That's right.
I mean, that just opens my heart right there. I never really got that until you were speaking, and that just absolutely. So we have a little time, so now I'm going to turn it all on you.
Come on.
So a question that I was asking on the red carpet after the Grammys last weekend was, what's your life motto? Mine's don't die wondering. What makes you tick? I just read your bio, and I know that's not even all of it. You are like me, Energizer Bunny, lots of batteries, big battery life. Al's going, trying to keep up with the boss. What's your life motto?
Well, I think one has to wake up every morning trying to make it count. And that's my orientation to life, because I see a lot of things that can be made better, and to the extent that I've been blessed with the gifts and or the endowments to do that, I feel obliged to use my life in that manner. So that's kind of how it works. My grandmother instilled something in me that I can't get away from. It's just poetic. If the task is once begun, never leave it till it's done. Be the labor great or small, do it well or not at all. And so I wake up with a sense of trying to make it happen.
Beautiful.
Get it done.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington said at the Image Awards a few weeks ago, take nothing for granted, put the time in, go to work. It's not going to happen otherwise, and I believe in a certain level of divine intervention.
Friendly universe.
But I know that you have to put the time in. Go to work.
The gospel according to Nike.
Come on now.
Just do it.
Yes, do. Make it happen.
Good. And what do you say to people who don't feel like they matter? So what's a message? You've seen people who are homeless. You've seen people who are down. What do you do? I'm sure there are moments when you're not feeling all that. What do you do to sort of pick yourself up? What do you say to yourself?
Well, I connect with people who are doing things that are meaningful, and there are many people who are doing meaningful things. And the bent of my life, fortunately, has been positive. If I were to put it in different language, I have to say that God has smiled on me. Well, then that means that I need to wake up with the kind of disposition that says we can get something done that's going to bless somebody else. And that's kind of the way I roll it every day. And celebrate life. I used to teach one of the things that you didn't mention, and that's fine because it was the high point of my career when I taught high school. And it was a course that I taught called Celebration. And we were trying at that point in time to orient those young women toward a life of what's positive, and without really knowing it, it is the element of nonviolent philosophy. That is to say that the ability to change conditions is resident within each of us. We simply need to know how to activate it by connecting with others who are of similar disposition and persuasion. Celebrate it.
Yes,
something will happen.
Absolutely. That little ding there was Rev.
Yeah.
He said, "My brother."
Yeah.
With an exclamation.
Yeah, trying to work it out. Shout out to Reverend Michael.
There you go. There you go. So I did have 2 questions come in on my messaging specific to the homeless. One was, is part of the plan to use the older buildings that are in LA right now and turn them into homeless housing?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
That's part of what will happen. The resources from this measure, small portion of them will be for what we call adaptive reuse. That is to cause facilities for transitional housing. And then it is also, there's a lot of housing available, but landlords don't want to make it available because they think the persons who inhabit will destroy and not pay their rent, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
That's why I made reference to rent subsidies and rapid rehousing. So these resources will in part encourage landlords to know that we will have ongoing resources and services for the people who will inhabit those units.
Right.
And so, yes, existing housing stock, existing buildings will be benefited by these resources. It's a big deal.
Great. That's was a question from Ramona Bridges, who was actually a guest on my show. She was homeless in LA, and now is an author of a book and doing tours, and has, gotten to where you want everybody,
that.
right?
We celebrate that.
The other question is the definition of homelessness. I've heard from several places where they have to be homeless or have episodes of homeless for, because we want to get the chronic. And so people who are in transitional housing don't qualify. That doesn't sound like it's part of the plan. So just so I've raised it here, there are places that are actually now trying to be that first, off the streets.
Right.
They don't not qualify, right?
Listen, this is a focus on prevention.
Okay.
And so when we know that someone's on the brink, that's when rapid rehousing has to kick in. In other words, the longer someone stays homeless, the worse situations get.
Correct.
For the individual and or that individual's family. And a lot of families are caught in the web of homelessness. And so some of what we are intent on doing is making sure that people don't stay down so long. The longer it is, the worse it gets. The more costly it is, the more health problems that kick in, the more public safety problems that kick in, the more mental health challenges that kick in. And so it's fiscally imprudent to allow people to languish. It costs taxpayers more to do that.
Right.
They end up in the emergency room
or in jail.
And both of them are obviously more costly than rapid rehousing scenarios.
Right.
We're trying to get people to be smarter about the use of public funds. Therefore, Measure H is a compelling way to deal with it. And so some of the old ways of dealing with homelessness will be upended.
Yeah.
The things that we know can work, we will expand.
Right.
That's what this is about.
Absolutely. Human dignity for all of us. Measure H, vote March 7th. Please vote. We need this to pass. We need to be part of the solution. More information on www.yesonh.com.
There
I
you
almost
go.
finished that one too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh, I'm going to give you, I don't give it to everybody, Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award. Chairman Mark Ridley-Thomas. Woo, 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 woo. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we are at the end of the show now. It's time for the Balance Bar, where I invite you to step up and balance with me. Round 67 of the 21-day Fast from Complaining ends today, and round 68 starts March 1st. Time flies when you're not complaining. To officially join, get the app made by teenagers, and if you manage to make the 21 consecutive days in a row without complaining, contact me and you will get your free pack of motivational cards, Stacking the Deck for Life Balance with Dr. Marissa, 52 card pick-me-ups. And my Sedona retreat's coming up May 20 and 21st after I get back from speaking in India. If you sign up before April Fool's Day, you save $200. No joking. And an important change because of the building opportunities for growth at Agape, my class there has been postponed, but because so many of you were asking, I will still be doing a Balance on the Beach mini workshop March 4th. The same day as the class. So get it on my Facebook page or email me. Get that information at forbalance.org. If you'd like to balance with Dr. Marissa, your personal advocate for more hope and happiness. And finally, if you want to be a big loser with me, join my free Facebook group called Feel Good and Look Good Naked. That is on Facebook. And that sort of segues into next week's show. It is the last week of the month, so it is Sexual Healing with Dr. Marissa. And my guest is, repeat coming back on, Todd Krieger, sex therapist. And he's going to talk about how to improve the potential and the quality of your orgasms. So please do not miss next week's show of Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Yes, I'm determined to make pleasure a G-rated topic. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa Pay. That's P for positive, EI. And remember, it's all about balance. Peace in and peace out.
Before the dawn, for I am weak and he is strong. He lifts me up so I can see how dark it is.